Xenofeminism is one of the most provocative and forward-looking movements in contemporary philosophy and political theory, challenging traditional ideas about gender, nature, technology, and liberation. It begins with a bold conviction: if society has created systems of inequality, then humanity also possesses the power to redesign those systems through science, technology, and collective action. Rather than romanticizing the natural world or accepting inherited social structures as inevitable, xenofeminism embraces transformation. It asks a daring question: what if technology could be used not merely to improve life but to fundamentally liberate people from oppressive limitations tied to gender, biology, and social hierarchy? The term xenofeminism combines the Greek word xeno, meaning strange or foreign, with feminism. The philosophy emerged prominently through the collective Laboria Cuboniks and their Manifesto Xenofeminism, A Politics for Alienation, published in 2015. The movement positioned itself as both a continuation and critique of earlier feminist traditions. Xenofeminists argue that liberation requires not only social reform but also a radical rethinking of humanity's relationship with technology, biology, and identity itself. One of the central ideas of xenofeminism is the rejection of naturalism as a moral guide. Throughout history, appeals to what is considered natural have often been used to justify inequality. Gender roles, economic hierarchies, and social norms have frequently been defended on the grounds that they are natural or biologically determined. Xenofeminism challenges this assumption directly. It argues that nature is not automatically good, just, or desirable. Disease, suffering, inequality, and oppression may all occur naturally, yet humanity constantly uses technology and culture to overcome such conditions. From this perspective, appealing to nature as an unquestionable authority becomes deeply problematic. This rejection of naturalism leads xenofeminism toward a positive embrace of technology. Unlike philosophies that see technological development as inherently alienating or destructive, xenofeminism views it as a potential tool for emancipation. Technologies related to reproduction, communication, medicine, and artificial intelligence are seen not merely as conveniences but as instruments capable of reshaping social relations. The movement is particularly interested in how technology might weaken rigid gender structures and expand human freedom. Gender occupies a central place in xenofeminist thought. Xenofeminists argue that gender categories are socially constructed systems that often restrict human potential. While acknowledging the realities of embodied experience, the movement opposes the idea that biology should determine social destiny. In this sense, xenofeminism aligns with broader queer and transgender politics, advocating for a world where individuals are not confined by rigid expectations tied to sex or gender. One of the most controversial aspects of xenofeminism is its support for technological intervention in reproduction and bodily autonomy. Some xenofeminists discuss possibilities such as artificial wombs, reproductive technologies, and advanced medical interventions as means of reducing the burdens historically imposed on women and marginalized genders. They argue that biology should not function as destiny, especially when technological alternatives exist. Critics sometimes interpret these ideas as anti-human or excessively utopian, but supporters see them as extensions of long-standing struggles for bodily freedom and equality. Another important dimension of xenofeminism is its relationship with capitalism and labor. The movement recognizes that technological progress alone does not guarantee liberation. Technologies developed within unequal systems can easily reinforce exploitation rather than eliminate it. Automation, for example, could either free people from exhausting labor or deepen economic inequality depending on how society organizes its resources and institutions. Xenofeminism therefore combines technological optimism with political critique, insisting that social structures must also change if technology is to serve emancipatory goals. Xenofeminism also places strong emphasis on universality. In recent decades, some political movements have focused heavily on localized or fragmented identities. Xenofeminists, while acknowledging differences in experience, argue for building broad coalitions capable of addressing systemic problems collectively. They seek forms of solidarity that transcend traditional boundaries of nation, race, gender, and culture. This universalism does not aim to erase differences but to create conditions under which diverse individuals can flourish together. The movement's aesthetic and philosophical style often feels futuristic and experimental. Xenofeminist writing frequently incorporates references to cybernetics, artificial intelligence, digital networks, and science fiction. In many ways, it reflects the influence of earlier cyberfeminist traditions, which explored the intersection of technology and gender. However, xenofeminism moves beyond simple celebration of digital culture. It presents a more comprehensive political vision focused on restructuring society itself. Critics of xenofeminism raise several concerns. Some argue that the movement places too much faith in technology, underestimating the ways technological systems can reproduce existing inequalities. There are also debates about accessibility. Advanced technologies are often expensive and controlled by powerful institutions, raising questions about who would benefit from the changes xenofeminism envisions. Despite these criticisms, xenofeminism has become increasingly influential in discussions about feminism, digital culture, and post-human philosophy. Its ideas resonate in a world where artificial intelligence, biotechnology, and global communication networks are rapidly transforming human existence. As societies grapple with questions about automation, surveillance, gender identity, and reproductive rights, xenofeminism offers a framework that refuses nostalgia and instead confronts the future directly. At its deepest level, xenofeminism is a philosophy of possibility. It refuses to accept that existing social arrangements are permanent or inevitable. By embracing what is strange, unfamiliar, and transformative, it challenges humanity to imagine new forms of life beyond inherited limitations. The movement sees liberation not as a return to some pure or natural condition but as an active process of redesigning the world through intelligence, cooperation, and creativity. In the end, xenofeminism stands as a bold attempt to rethink freedom for the technological age. It asks humanity not to fear transformation but to guide it consciously and ethically. Others worry that its rejection of natural gender norms and xenofeminism value experimentation about the future of identity and human possibility in an increasingly technological world.